You are afraid of the dark. You might not admit it. You might sleep with the door open, or the bathroom light on, or your phone face up on the nightstand, so the room is never completely black. You might not even notice you do it. But somewhere underneath everything, the dark still gets to you. It got to every human who ever lived. For 300,000 years. Before electricity, before fire was reliable, before walls and roofs and locked doors, your ancestors sat at the edge of the light and listened to what was moving in the black beyond it. They could not see it, they could only hear it, and they had no way of knowing whether it was the wind or something else entirely. That feeling you carry in your chest when the lights go out is not irrational. It is ancient. It is the most tested survival response in human history. And every civilization that ever existed looked into that same darkness and came to the same conclusion. Something was in there. Your brain is not built for darkness. It is built for edges. Neuroscientist David Eagleman has written extensively about how the brain fills in missing information. When your eyes cannot gather data, your brain does not go quiet. It starts generating. It produces shapes, movements, presences, things that are not there. Not because you are irrational, but because for most of human history, assuming something was there and being wrong was survivable. Assuming nothing was there and being wrong was not. This is called the hyperactive agency detection device, the tendency to perceive intention and presence in ambiguous stimuli. In the dark, everything ambiguous becomes everything threatening. Your ancestors did not know the neuroscience, but they felt the result every night of their lives, and they built entire systems of belief around it. The oldest evidence of fire use by humans dates to roughly 1 million years ago. Controlled fire. Deliberate fire. Fire maintained not just for warmth or cooking, but for light. Think about what that means. 1 million years ago, something in your ancestors' brain understood that the circle of firelight was the boundary between the known and the unknown, between safety and what waited beyond it. Archaeologist Will Robrooks, who has studied early fire use in Europe, argues that fire was not simply a tool. It was a social technology. The fire defined the group. It marked the territory of the living against the territory of everything else. To sit within the light was to be inside the human world. To walk beyond it was to enter somewhere that did not belong to you. Every ancient culture inherited this understanding, and every ancient culture tried to explain what lived in the part of the world the fire could not reach. In ancient Mesopotamia, the darkness had a name: Ekimu. The Ekimu were the spirits of the unburied dead, people who had died without proper ritual, without a grave, without someone to mourn them. They wandered the night, unable to rest, hungry for the warmth of the living. Mesopotamian texts describe them pressing against the walls of houses after dark, scratching at doors, sliding under thresholds. The solution was to keep lights burning through the night, not for visibility. As a barrier, the light told the Ekimu that the living were here, that they were cared for, that they had not been abandoned the way the Ekimu had been. The dark was not just an absence of light. It was where the forgotten went. In ancient Egypt, the night was a battlefield. Every single night, the sun god Ra descended into the underworld to make the journey through 12 hours of complete darkness before rising again at dawn. Each hour of that journey was guarded by a gate. At each gate, a serpent waited. Apep, the chaos serpent, the enemy of all order, tried every night to swallow the sun and end the world. Every morning, Ra survived. Every morning, the sun rose. But the Egyptians did not take this for granted. Priests performed rituals throughout the night to assist Ra in his battle. They burned effigies of Apep. They spat on representations of chaos. They recited spells from texts called the Books of Overthrowing Apep. For the ancient Egyptians, dawn was not automatic. It was earned. Every sunrise was a victory. And every night was the possibility that this time, the darkness would win. When you watch the sun rise and feel something unexplainable lift in your chest, you are feeling what they felt. The relief of a battle survived. The Norse called the dark something different. They called it the domain of the Jotnar, the giants. the forces of chaos and cold that existed before the gods shaped the world into something livable. In Norse cosmology, the world had been carved out of darkness. Odin and his brothers had made land and sky and light from the body of a primordial giant. But the darkness that existed before creation had not gone away. It had retreated. It waited at the edges, in the deep forests, in the ocean beyond the horizon, in the winter night that lasted for months. The Wild Hunt, a procession of spirits and dead warriors led by Odin across the winter sky, moved through the darkness between worlds. To hear it was terrifying. To see it meant death or madness. The Norse did not believe the dark was empty. They believed it was full of things older than the gods. In nearly every ancient culture, there is a moment of transition at dusk. A ritual, a prayer, a fire lit, a door closed, a deliberate act that marks the boundary between the day world and the night world. The Romans called this the hora incerta, the uncertain hour, the time between sunset and full dark when the world was neither one thing nor the other. Spirits could move more freely then. The boundary between the living and the dead was thinner. In Hindu tradition, the hour of dusk is called sandhya, the joining. It is a sacred moment requiring prayer and ritual precisely because it is dangerous. The transition belongs to neither world and therefore to both. In Japan, the hour of dusk was called kawatare-doki, the time of asking who goes there, because in that light you could not tell a human from a spirit. Every culture, every continent, the same instinct. At the edge of the light, something shifts. Something requires acknowledgement. You still feel it. Not because you are primitive, not because you are irrational, but because you are the inheritor of 300,000 years of humans who survived by taking the dark seriously. The researchers who study circadian biology have found that human cortisol levels, the stress response, naturally begin to rise in the hour before dawn. The body tightens before the sun comes up, as if it has been waiting, as if it knows somewhere beneath conscious thought that the night is not over yet. Your ancestors sat around fires and told stories about what lived in the darkness. Those stories were not superstition. They were the accumulated wisdom of every human generation that made it through the night. The dark is still there. You are still listening. You just have better lights now.